Picture this. You're at a party, enjoying your poutine, when the loudest guy in the room says, "You should just move into my basement, it's the best." That's basically what happened to Canada in 2025. Since returning to the White House, Donald Trump declared on Fox News, "Frankly, Canada should be the 51st state." This wasn't a one-off. Trump made it a recurring theme, calling the US-Canada border a fiction and pitching annexation as a wonderful marriage, one where Canada loses its name. It's a bold strategy. Most people try flowers, Trump tried erasing a country. His logic? Canada relies on the US, so why not make it official? American businesses who depend on Canadian trade probably choked on their coffee. It's classic Trump start with an outrageous offer so anything less seems reasonable. But when your opening is, "Give me your entire country," there's not much room to negotiate. The Canadian reaction? Not enthusiastic. Imagine your neighbor announcing they want to annex your house because it's convenient. The 51st state taunt wasn't just a jab, it was a direct challenge to Canada's identity and sovereignty. For a country that prides itself on being polite, this was the equivalent of someone cutting in line, stealing your donut, and telling you to be grateful. The stage was set for a showdown, not with tanks, but with statements and a whole lot of maple leaf pride. Trump's gambit wasn't just about politics, it was about testing the very core of what it means to be Canadian. And Canadians were about to show just how much that meant to them. Enter Mark Carney, Canada's new Prime Minister, who walked into office and straight into Trump's diplomatic storm. Trump kept calling him governor, a deliberate power move, as if Carney was just managing a future US territory. But Carney, former governor of the Bank of England and Bank of Canada, wasn't backing down. In a now-famous Oval Office meeting, Trump called annexation a wonderful marriage. Carney replied, "Canada is not for sale." That line became a national rallying cry. Carney didn't escalate, but he drew a clear line in the snow. When Trump quipped, "Never say never," Carney's silence said it all. He'd warned during his campaign, "Trump is the biggest risk to our economy." Carney framed the conflict as a battle for Canada's soul, promising, "We're all going to stand up against Donald Trump." The government's message was unified. Canada is an independent, sovereign nation, and will remain so. By refusing to play Trump's game, Carney denied him the chaos he craved. Instead, he offered calm, determined leadership, turning a potential crisis into a moment of national clarity. Canada's resolve was on full display. Trump's 51st state talk wasn't just bluster, it was a trade weapon. He argued, "Become a state, skip the tariffs." It's like saying, "I'll stop punching you if you move in with me." Trump ramped up pressure with tariffs, citing a national emergency over drugs and migrants from Canada, a claim unsupported by data. It was a manufactured crisis, justifying economic aggression and painting annexation as the solution. Then came the wildest offer-free inclusion in Trump's Golden Dome missile defense. If Canada became a state, stay independent, that'll be $61 billion. It was a protection racket. Nice country, shame if something happened to it. Canada flatly denied considering the offer. The pressure was relentless. When Carney's government dropped a proposed tax on US tech giants, the White House spun it as a Trump victory. Any concession was framed as surrender. Any resistance met with more pain. Trump's strategy wore down Canada until annexation seemed like the only way out. But Canadians weren't buying it. Instead, the economic squeeze only fueled their determination. The trade war became a test of national will. Trump's pressure didn't break Canadian spirit, it supercharged it. A March poll showed 70% of Canadians proud to be Canadian, up sharply from the month before. The more Trump questioned Canada's legitimacy, the more Canadians doubled down on their identity. 92% pledged to support Canadian companies, tariffs or not. Another poll found 59% now saw the US as the greatest threat. A seismic shift for a country that once saw America as its closest ally. Canada Day 2025 became a massive, joyful protest. Crowds from Vancouver to Halifax united in defiance. Carney's address called for unity in a divided world, and the celebration was a visual rebuke to the idea of a collapsing nation. Even Quebec, long home to separatist sentiment, saw 76% proud to be Canadian. As historian Michael Ignatieff put it, Trump did more for Canadian unity than any prime minister in recent memory. By trying to erase the border, Trump made every Canadian fiercely aware of why it mattered. Canadian resistance hit the cash register. A grassroots Buy Canadian movement swept the nation. Shopping became an act of patriotism. Polls showed 72% planned to avoid U.S. goods, 75% to skip travel south. Stores pulled American products, consumers left Kentucky bourbon and Florida oranges on the shelf. Canadian brands boomed. Toronto's OK Ox saw a 60% sales jump. Slogans like "Canada is not for sale" and "Elbows up" became fashion statements. This wasn't government mandated, it was millions making personal choices. Every Canadian purchase was a message to Washington. The economic relationship is a two-way street. Trump's threats reminded Canadians of their own power. The boycott was quiet, determined, and effective. It turned everyday life into a show of national solidarity. While governments clashed, many Americans showed support for Canada. People like Kirk Anderson traveled to Montreal for Canada Day, proving not all Americans backed Trump's plan. This grassroots solidarity contrasted sharply with U.S. officials who amplified Trump's rhetoric. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and FBI Director Kash Patel hyped a northern border crisis, fueling the narrative. Noem's most absurd stunt? At the Haskell Free Library, she crossed the borderline inside, shouting, "USA #1 and 51st state," mocking the idea of a peaceful border. These official taunts built a case against Canada, but many Americans were uncomfortable with bullying a longtime ally. For Canadians, American support was a welcome reminder. Friendship could outlast politics. The divide within the U.S. was clear. Aggression from the top, solidarity from the people. Even in a darkening relationship, hope flickered. The bond between ordinary Canadians and Americans endured. As tensions rose, Canada looked beyond its southern neighbor. The government strengthened trade ties with Europe and Mexico, signaling it wouldn't be cornered. King Charles III's rare visit to Ottawa to deliver the speech from the throne was a powerful show of Commonwealth solidarity. Quoting the anthem, he declared, "The true North is indeed strong and free, a royal endorsement of Canadian sovereignty." The visit reminded the world of Canada's distinct identity and stable institutions. Canada's push for new trade horizons was pragmatic: defend at home, expand abroad. The Buy Canadian movement was the defense, new trade deals the offense. The U.S. relationship, once bedrock, was now volatile. Canada's strategy: unity at home, options abroad. No matter what happened south of the border, Canada was ready. In a twist of irony, Trump united Canada more than any leader before him. His campaign to undermine Canadian sovereignty gave Canadians a common cause. From BC to Newfoundland, even in Quebec, shared identity surged. The only outlier? A fringe Alberta separatist movement, vastly outnumbered by national unity. Canada was stress-tested and emerged stronger, more self-assured, and less dependent on Washington. The crisis forced a conversation about what it means to be Canadian. Canada showed it could push back when its values were threatened. The episode was a lesson in self-reliance and global engagement. Trump wanted to absorb Canada. Instead, he made it stand taller. The true North proved, once again, it is strong and free.